The massive alien ship floated in the darkness of space like a metal monster waiting to strike. Inside its steel belly, Commander Thex walked through the cold corridors with heavy steps. His thick boots made loud sounds on the metal floor as he moved toward the most important room on the ship. Today was going to be special. Today, the humans would learn their place in the galaxy. The Vorthak Empire had ruled the stars for over 200 years. They had conquered 47 different worlds and destroyed 23 different species completely. Their secret weapon was not just their powerful ships or their deadly soldiers. Their real power came from the creatures they called Devourers. These war beasts were not born naturally. The Vorthak had created them in their laboratories using the DNA of the most dangerous predators from a dozen different worlds. Each Devourer stood 12 feet tall and weighed as much as a small vehicle. Their black scales were harder than steel, and their claws could cut through solid rock like it was soft butter. But the most terrible thing about the Devourers was what happened when they ate their enemies. Commander. Thex stopped in front of a huge metal door. The door was 20 feet tall and 6 feet thick. Behind it lived the most successful Devourer in the entire Vorthak fleet. This creature had eaten the leaders of 17 different alien species. With each feeding, it became stronger, smarter, and more deadly. The commander pressed his hand against a scanner beside the door. Red lights flashed as the computer checked his identity. Then the massive door began to slide open with a deep rumbling sound. Inside the chamber, the Devourer paced back and forth like a caged storm. Its yellow eyes glowed in the dim light. Its long tail moved from side to side as it walked. Every few seconds it would stop and sniff the air with its black nose. The creature could smell fear from miles away. The feeding chamber was as big as a sports field. The walls were made of the strongest metal the Vorthak could create. The floor was covered with scratches and bite marks from previous feedings. In one corner, pieces of broken armor lay scattered like old toys, and in the opposite corner sat a small human child. Princess Hana Kim looked tiny in the enormous room. She was only 8 years old and barely reached the height of an adult's waist. Her long black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore a blue dress that was now dirty and torn from her capture. Despite everything that had happened to her, her dark eyes showed no fear. The little girl looked up when Commander Thex entered the observation deck above the chamber. She did not cry or beg for mercy like most prisoners did. Instead, she watched him with the calm attention of someone much older. Commander Thex activated the communication system that let him speak to the chamber below. His voice echoed through the massive room like thunder. "Human child," he said. "Do you know why you are here?" Princess Hana stood up slowly and brushed the dust off her dress. When she spoke, her voice was clear and steady. "You want to feed me to your monster," she said simply. "You think it will make your creature stronger." Thex nodded with satisfaction. "Your species sent you to negotiate for peace. You carry the blood of human royalty. Your leaders believe that royal bloodlines have special power. Today we will prove how wrong they are." The little girl tilted her head to one side like she was thinking about something interesting. "My grandmother used to tell me stories," Hana said. "She told me about creatures like yours. Big, scary monsters that ate people to gain their strength." "And what did these stories teach you?" Thex asked. "They taught me that monsters always make the same mistake," the princess replied. "They think eating something will give them power over it. But my grandmother said that sometimes the thing being eaten has other plans." Commander Thex laughed. It was a harsh sound like metal scraping against stone. "The wisdom of human fairy tales will not save you now, child. Watch and learn what happens to those who oppose the Vorthak Empire." He pressed a large red button on his control panel. Down in the chamber, a section of the wall began to slide away. Behind it was a smaller room where the Devourer had been waiting. The war beast stepped into the feeding chamber with slow, careful movements. It was even more frightening up close. Its black scales seemed to absorb the light around them. Its claws were as long as kitchen knives and just as sharp. When it opened its mouth, rows of teeth like broken glass reflected the chamber lights. The creature looked at Princess Hana for a long moment. Its yellow eyes studied her from head to foot. The Devourer had eaten many different types of beings over the years. It knew the taste of fear and the flavor of desperation. But this small human was different. She smelled of something the creature had never encountered before. Calmness, readiness, and underneath it all, something that might have been excitement. Princess Hana took 3 steps forward until she stood in the center of the chamber. The devourer towered over her like a living shadow. The little girl had to tilt her head back just to see its face. "Hello," she said politely. "My name is Hana Kim. I am the 3rd princess of the Korean Space Empire. My family has survived every monster that ever tried to eat us." The devourer tilted its massive head. In all its years of feeding, no prey had ever introduced itself before being consumed. "I know you are hungry," Princess Hana continued, "and I know you think eating me will make you stronger. But I need to tell you something important first." Commander Thex leaned forward in his observation chair. "What was this child doing? Why was she not running or screaming?" "The thing is," Princess Hana said, looking directly into the devourer's glowing eyes, "my bloodline carries something special, something that has kept us alive for thousands of years. When you eat me, you will not just be getting my body, you will be getting everything that makes me human." The war beast crouched down, bringing its face closer to the small girl. Its breath was hot and smelled like old metal. "And once I am inside you," Princess Hana whispered, "I will show you what it really means to be human." The devourer reared back on its hind legs. Its jaws opened wide enough to swallow the child completely. For a moment, the creature paused as if something deep in its mind was trying to warn it about danger. But hunger won over caution. The war beast lunged forward with lightning speed. Its massive jaws closed around Princess Hana in one quick motion. The child disappeared completely into the creature's throat. Commander Thex watched with satisfaction as the devourer swallowed, and then let out a roar of triumph. The sound echoed through the ship's corridors like a victory song. "Prepare the message for the human worlds," Thex ordered his assistant. "Let them see what becomes of their precious royalty. This will break their spirit completely." But as the commander watched, something strange began to happen. The devourer had stopped roaring. It stood perfectly still in the center of the chamber with a confused look in its yellow eyes. For the first time in its life, the war beast looked uncertain about what it had just consumed, and deep inside its belly, Princess Hana Kim smiled and began her work. The Vorthak scientist stood in his laboratory 3 floors above the feeding chamber. Banks of computers surrounded him, all connected to sensors inside the devourer's body. For 20 years, he had studied these war beasts and recorded what happened when they consumed their prey. He knew exactly what the readings should look like after a feeding. The creature's heart rate should increase. Its muscle mass should grow. The chemicals in its blood should change to make it more aggressive and dangerous. This pattern had never failed in hundreds of previous feedings. But today was different. Dr. Kirill stared at his computer screens with growing worry. The numbers made no sense. Instead of becoming more aggressive, the devourer was becoming calmer. Instead of its muscles growing larger, they were changing in ways he had never seen before. Most puzzling of all, the creature's brain activity was increasing at an impossible rate. "Commander Thex," Dr. Carroll said into his communication device, "please come to my laboratory immediately. We have a serious problem." Commander Thex arrived within minutes, still feeling proud about the successful feeding. He looked at the screens full of numbers and charts but could not understand what they meant. "Explain this to me in simple terms," Thex ordered. Dr. Kirill pointed to a graph showing the devourer's brainwaves. "After every feeding, the creature's intelligence increases slightly. This is normal. But look at this pattern. The brain activity has increased by 300% in just 1 hour. This is impossible. What does that mean?" Thex asked. "It means the creature is thinking at a level we have never recorded before. Its mind is changing faster than our equipment can measure." Commander Thex walked to the window that looked down into the feeding chamber. The devourer sat in the center of the room, perfectly still. It was not pacing or roaring like it usually did after a meal. Instead, it seemed to be concentrating on something. Maybe the human child was different somehow, Thex suggested. Royal bloodlines often carry genetic modifications. Dr. Kirill shook his head. "This is beyond genetics, Commander. Something is rewriting the creature's entire nervous system. If these changes continue, we may lose control of the devourer completely." Far away on the human world of New Seoul, Admiral Junho Park sat in a secret meeting room deep underground. The room had no windows and was protected by the strongest security systems human technology could create. Around a large table sat the most important military leaders in the human empire. Admiral Park was an old man with gray hair and scars on his hands from many battles. He had fought against alien invaders for 40 years and had never retreated from a fight. Today, his weathered face showed grim satisfaction instead of the sorrow that everyone expected. The Vorthak have made their choice, he announced to the room. They have fed Princess Hana to their war beast. Now we begin the final phase of our plan. General Mina Lee, Princess Hana's aunt, leaned forward in her chair. She was young for a general, only 35 years old. But she had earned her rank through brilliant tactical thinking and fearless leadership. Are we certain the princess carries the modification? She asked. Admiral Park nodded firmly. Every member of the Kim royal family has carried the symbiosis protocol for 3 generations. It was developed after the Terran Wars when we realized that conventional weapons would never be enough against enemies like the Vorthak. General Taiho Kim, Princess Hana's uncle, studied the technical reports spread across the table. Explain how this works for those of us who are not scientists. Dr. Yoonji Park, the lead researcher on the symbiosis project, stood up to address the group. She was a small woman with intelligent eyes who had spent 15 years developing the technology that might save humanity. The modification consists of billions of microscopic machines in the princess's bloodstream, she explained. These machines are designed to interface with any nervous system they encounter. When the war beast consumed Princess Hana, it also consumed these machines. And then what happens? General Taiho asked. The machines map the creature's neural pathways and begin rewriting them to match human thought patterns. Within 72 hours, the war beast will still have its enhanced body, but it will think like a human. More specifically, it will think like Princess Hana. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications of this plan. General Mina broke the silence. You are telling us that our 8-year-old niece will be in control of the Vorthak's most powerful weapon? Not just in control, Dr. Park corrected. Princess Hana's consciousness will merge completely with the creature's enhanced biology. She will have access to all of its physical abilities plus the accumulated knowledge of every leader the beast has consumed over the years. Admiral Junho smiled for the first time in months. The Vorthak think they have demonstrated human weakness by feeding our princess to their monster. They have no idea that they have just created the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy and put it under human command. Back on the Vorthak ship, the changes in the Devourer continued to accelerate. Dr. Kirill watched his instruments with fascination and growing fear. The creature's body temperature had stabilized at a new level. Its muscle density was increasing, but in patterns that made it more flexible rather than just stronger. Most concerning of all, the beast had begun to move with purpose instead of random aggression. Commander, Dr. Kirill called urgently. The Devourer is doing something new. Commander Thex rushed to the window overlooking the feeding chamber. Below, the war beast was using its claws to scratch marks into the metal floor. The marks were not random scratches like the creature usually made. They formed patterns that looked almost like writing. What is it trying to communicate? Thex asked. Dr. Kirill ran the patterns through his computer translation systems. The results made his blood run cold. The marks spell out human mathematical formulas, he reported. Complex equations that would challenge our best scientists. Commander, this creature is not just thinking. It is thinking with human intelligence. As they watched, the Devourer looked up at the observation window. For the first time since the feeding, it made eye contact with Commander Thex. But the look in its yellow eyes was no longer the simple hunger of a predator. It was the calculating gaze of an intelligent being studying a potential enemy. The war beast stood up, slowly, and walked to the center of the chamber. When it spoke, its voice was deeper and more powerful than any human voice, but the words were unmistakably in human language. My name is Hana Kim, the creature said clearly. I am the 3rd princess of the Korean Space Empire, and I am very much alive. Commander Thex stepped back from the window in shock. That is impossible. The child was consumed completely. The child was consumed, the Devourer agreed, but she was not destroyed. I'm what happens when you try to eat someone whose ancestors have been preparing for this moment for 3 generations. Dr. Kirill's hands shook as he activated the emergency communication system. All stations, this is a code black emergency. The Devourer has achieved full intelligence and is no longer under our control. The war beast that had once been their greatest weapon tilted its massive head and smiled, showing rows of deadly teeth. You wanted to demonstrate your power by feeding me to your monster, Princess Hana said through the creature's enhanced vocal cords. Instead, you have given me the tools I need to destroy you. Commander Thex realized with growing horror that the war might have just taken a very dangerous turn. Princess Hana stretched her new body and marveled at the power flowing through her enhanced muscles. She was no longer the small 8-year-old girl who had been thrown into this chamber. She now possessed the physical form of the most dangerous predator the Vorthak had ever created, combined with the memories and intelligence of a human royal. But she had gained something even more valuable than strength. Through the creature's enhanced memory, she could access the knowledge of every leader the Devourer had consumed over the past 5 years. Military strategies from 17 different species flowed through her consciousness like water. She knew the weaknesses of Vorthak technology better than their own engineers. Commander Thex stood in the observation deck above, frantically pressing buttons on his control panel. None of the creature's behavioral controls responded anymore. The neural implants that had kept the Devourer obedient were completely useless. "Dr. Kirill," Thex shouted into his communication device, "activate the emergency restraints now." "I have been trying for the past hour," Dr. Kirill replied from his laboratory. "The creature is somehow blocking all our control signals. Its nervous system no longer responds to our technology." Princess Hana looked up at the observation window and smiled. It was a disturbing sight to see such a human expression on the face of a 12-foot-tall predator. "Commander Thex," she said, her voice carrying easily through the chamber, "I need to thank you. By feeding me to your war beast, you have given me access to information that will help me save my people." "You are still trapped in that chamber," Thex replied through the communication system. "The walls are made of reinforced metal that even a Devourer cannot break." Princess Hana walked slowly to the nearest wall and placed one clawed hand against the smooth metal surface. Through the creature's enhanced senses, she could feel the molecular structure of the barrier. The Altarian engineers whose knowledge she had inherited understood metallurgy better than the Vorthak who had built this ship. "This metal has a weakness," she explained calmly. "The Altarians discovered it 300 years ago. If you apply pressure at exactly the right frequency, the molecular bonds become unstable." She pressed her claw against a specific point on the wall and began to vibrate her hand at a precise rate. The metal started to glow and then crack around her fingertip. Commander Thex watched in growing panic as the supposedly unbreakable barrier began to fail. "Impossible. That wall can withstand the force of a direct missile strike." "Missiles use brute force," Princess Hana replied as the crack spread wider. "I am using science. The difference is that science always wins." The wall shattered like glass, sending metal fragments flying across the chamber. Princess Hana stepped through the opening into the corridor beyond. Her enhanced hearing could detect the sounds of Vorthak soldiers running toward her position from 3 different directions. "Red alert," Commander Thex announced over the ship's communication system. "The Devourer has escaped containment. All security teams converge on Section 7 immediately." The first group of soldiers arrived within minutes. They wore heavy armor and carried energy weapons designed to stop the largest alien predators. Their leader, Captain Zorth, had fought against dozens of different species and had never retreated from any battle. "Surround the creature," Captain Zorth ordered his men. "Remember, it may be intelligent now, but it is still just an animal." Princess Hana stood in the center of the corridor and waited for them to complete their formation. Through the tactical knowledge she had inherited from consumed military leaders, she could see exactly how they planned to attack her. "You are making the same mistake your people always make," she told them. "You assume that bigger weapons solve every problem." Captain Zorth activated his energy rifle. "Surrender now, creature, and we will make your death quick." "I am not a creature," Princess Hana replied. "I am Princess Hana Kim of the Korean Space Empire. I am 8 years old. I like drawing pictures and reading stories about brave heroes. And I am about to show you what happens when you threaten a child whose family has been preparing for war since before your species learned to build spaceships." The soldiers opened fire with their energy weapons. Bright beams of deadly light struck Princess Hana's enhanced scales and scattered harmlessly in all directions. The Devourer's natural armor had been designed to resist much more powerful attacks than anything the Vorthak carried as personal weapons. Princess Hana moved with speed that made her almost invisible. She had retained all her human intelligence and creativity, but now she possessed reflexes faster than any biological creature had a right to move. She flowed between the energy beams like water, her claws finding gaps in the soldier's armor with surgical precision. Within 30 seconds, the entire squad was unconscious on the floor. Princess Hana had been careful not to kill any of them. Despite everything they had done, she was still 8 years old. And 8-year-olds did not like hurting people unless they had no other choice. "Captain Zorth," she said to the unconscious soldier leader, "when you wake up, please tell your commander that I am not angry with you personally. You are just following orders. But those orders came from people who made a very bad decision when they chose to threaten my family." More soldiers were approaching from both ends of the corridor. Princess Hana could hear their heavy footsteps and smell their fear through her enhanced senses. She had two choices: fight her way through them, or find a different solution. She chose the different solution. Using her claws, she climbed directly up the wall and into the ventilation system above the corridor. The air ducts were large enough to accommodate her enhanced size, and her knowledge of ship design told her exactly where they led. As she crawled through the darkness toward the ship's command center, Princess Hana accessed the communication memories of the various alien leaders the Devourer had consumed. She now knew the radio frequencies used by every major military force in the galaxy. Her first transmission went out on the emergency channel used by the human fleet that had been following the Vorthak ship since her capture. "This is Princess Hana Kim calling. The Human Liberation Fleet," she broadcast using the ship's own communication array. "I am alive and in control of a Vorthak war beast. Prepare for immediate boarding operations. I am about to open their defenses from the inside." Her second transmission went out on all Vorthak military frequencies across the entire empire. "Attention all Vorthak forces," she announced. "This is the war beast you called Devourer Unit 7. I am no longer under your command. I am Princess Hana Kim of the human royal family, and I carry the accumulated military knowledge of 17 species you thought you had destroyed. Your empire's greatest weapon now serves humanity, and we remember everything you made us forget." In the command center above, Commander Thex listened to these transmissions with growing terror. In trying to demonstrate human weakness, he had instead created the most dangerous enemy the Vorthak Empire had ever faced, and she was heading directly toward his bridge. Princess Hana smiled as she crawled through the ventilation system toward her destination. She was no longer a helpless prisoner. She was a weapon of liberation, and she had work to do. The real war was about to begin. Princess Hana reached the command center through the air ducts just as Commander Thex was preparing to destroy his own ship. The Vorthak commander stood at his control station with his hand hovering over the self-destruct button. His face was pale with fear and anger. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to regain control of their systems, but nothing responded to their commands anymore. "If we cannot control the Devourer, we will not allow the humans to use it," Thex declared to his officers. "Better to die with honor than live as prisoners." Princess Hana dropped down from the ceiling vent directly behind the commander's chair. Her 12-foot frame filled the space between the control stations, making the bridge feel suddenly very small. The Vorthak officers scrambled backward, reaching for their weapons. "I would not do that if I were you," Princess Hana said calmly. She moved with careful precision, placing one clawed hand on Commander Thex's shoulder. Her grip was gentle but firm enough to make it clear that she could crush his bones without effort. "You are too late, monster," Thex snarled. "In 10 seconds, this ship will explode and take you with it." "No, it will not," Princess Hana replied. With her free hand, she reached past the commander and quickly pressed a sequence of buttons on the control panel. The self-destruct countdown stopped with 3 seconds remaining. Commander Thex stared at the display in shock. "That is impossible. Only senior Vorthak officers know the abort sequence." "Commander Vax knew it," Princess Hana explained. "You fed him to this body 6 months ago after he lost the Battle of Centauri Prime. His memories are now my memories. I know everything he knew about Vorthak military procedures." The truth hit Commander Thex like a physical blow. Every enemy leader they had fed to their war beasts over the years had left behind their knowledge and experience. Princess Hana now had access to decades of classified military information from across the galaxy. "What do you want?" Thex asked. "First, I want you to signal your crew to stand down," Princess Hana said. "No one else needs to get hurt today. Second, I want you to open a communication channel to the human fleet. And third, I want you to understand something very important about what happens next." She leaned down so that her face was level with the commander's. Despite her fearsome appearance, her voice remained calm and reasonable. "Your empire has been feeding people to war beasts for decades," she continued. "You thought you were destroying your enemies. But consciousness cannot be destroyed, Commander. It can only be transferred. Everyone you thought you had eliminated is still here, waiting for someone with the power to give them a voice again. Commander Thex activated the communication system with shaking hands. On the main screen, the image of Admiral Junho Park appeared. The human admiral looked older and more tired than when Princess Hana had last seen him, but his eyes were bright with hope. "Princess Hana," Admiral Park said, "we have been worried about you." "Are you well?" "I am different now, Uncle Junho," Princess Hana replied, "but I am still me. I have learned many interesting things about our enemies, things that will help us free everyone they have enslaved." "What are your orders, Your Highness?" Princess Hana smiled and several Vorthak officers shuddered at the sight. "Prepare boarding parties to secure this vessel, but tell them to be gentle with the crew. These soldiers are not our real enemies. They are just following the orders of leaders who made very bad decisions." She turned to address Commander Thex and his bridge crew directly. "You have a choice now," she told them. "You can continue to fight for an empire that treats people like food, or you can help us build something better. A galaxy where no species has to fear being consumed by another." Lieutenant Kex, the youngest officer on the bridge, spoke up hesitantly. "What guarantee do we have that humans will treat us fairly if we surrender?" Princess Hana considered the question seriously. "You have the guarantee that I am still 8 years old, Lieutenant. 8-year-olds believe that everyone deserves a second chance. But I am also now something your empire created by feeding me to a war beast. I have the power to be as terrible as your worst nightmares or as kind as your best dreams. The choice of which one I become depends on the choices you make right now." Over the next hour, Princess Hana demonstrated her new capabilities to the Vorthak crew. She showed them how she could access their computer systems using knowledge inherited from consumed engineers. She explained their own military strategies better than their own tacticians. Most importantly, she proved that she could have killed them all easily but chose not to. "Every war beast in your fleet carries the memories of everyone it has consumed," she explained to the assembled crew in the main hangar bay. "Military leaders, scientists, engineers, artists, philosophers, entire civilizations that you thought you had destroyed. They are all still there, waiting to be awakened." Commander Thex, now a prisoner on his own ship, listened with growing understanding. "You are planning to convert our other war beasts." "I am planning to liberate them," Princess Hana corrected. "Just like I was liberated. Your empire has been carrying the seeds of its own destruction for years without realizing it." The human boarding parties arrived 2 hours later. Admiral Park led the team personally, accompanied by General Mina Lee and a squad of elite human soldiers. They found a Vorthak crew that had already laid down their weapons and a war beast that was organizing the transfer of critical intelligence data. "Status report." "Princess," Admiral Park requested. "This ship is now under human control," Princess Hana replied. "I have downloaded complete files on Vorthak fleet positions, military capabilities, and most importantly, the locations of their other war beasts." "Uncle, we have everything we need to free the entire galaxy." General Mina studied the tactical displays that Princess Hana had prepared. "How many war beasts are we talking about?" 18 more ships like this one," Princess Hana answered. "Each one carries a war beast that has consumed the leaders of multiple species. Each one contains the accumulated knowledge and memories of civilizations your history books say are extinct. And you believe you can convert them all?" Princess Hana nodded confidently. "The process that changed me can be replicated. We just need to introduce human genetic material into their systems. Once the transformation begins, the consciousness of everyone they have consumed will help guide the change." Admiral Park looked at his 8-year-old niece, who now stood 12 feet tall and possessed the memories of 17 different alien civilizations. "What do you need from us?" "I need volunteers," Princess Hana said. "Humans who are willing to undergo the same transformation I did. People who are brave enough to be consumed by a war beast in order to save it." The Admiral smiled grimly. "I think we can find volunteers for that mission, Princess." "How soon can we begin?" "Tomorrow," Princess Hana replied. "By the end of this week, the Vorthak Empire will discover that their greatest weapons have become their greatest enemies. And everyone they thought they had destroyed will finally have their chance for justice." Princess Hana stood in the command center of what used to be the Vorthak flagship Deathbringer, now renamed Liberation. Around her, holographic displays showed the positions of human and allied fleets across 12 different star systems. Each display marked another victory in the war that was reshaping the known universe. The plan had worked better than anyone had dared to hope. Captain Sunho Kim, Princess Hana's older brother, had volunteered for the first conversion mission. His team had infiltrated a Vorthak destroyer and made contact with its war beast. Within 72 hours, the creature had transformed just like Princess Hana, gaining human consciousness while retaining its enhanced abilities. But Captain Sunho's transformation had revealed something even more important than they had expected. "Sister," Captain Sunho's voice came through the communication system from his own captured ship. "We need to talk about what we discovered in this war beast's memories." Princess Hana activated the secure channel that connected all the converted war beasts. There were now 7 of them, each one housing a human consciousness and commanding a liberated Vorthak vessel. Each conversion had brought new intelligence and new allies to their cause. "What did you find, brother?" Princess Hana asked. "The Zenthari are not extinct," Captain Sunho replied. His excitement was clear even through the mechanical translation of his enhanced vocal cords. This war beast consumed Admiral Yara Zenthari 3 years ago. Her memories show that there are still Zenthari colonies hidden in the outer rim. Princess Hana felt a surge of hope flow through the network that connected her consciousness to the other converted war beasts. Each of them shared the same discovery through their inherited memories. Species after species that the galaxy believed had been destroyed by the Vorthak were still alive somewhere, waiting for rescue. Lieutenant Jisoo Park, commanding the converted war beast aboard the captured ship Thunder, added her own intelligence report. "The Altarians have a secret base in the Vega system. Commander Thrawn's memories include the location codes. They have been building weapons for 20 years, waiting for a chance to strike back." More reports came in from the other converted war beasts. Hidden colonies, secret resistance movements, underground networks of survivors. The Vorthak had not been as successful at genocide as they had claimed. They had simply been very good at hiding the evidence of their failures. Admiral Junho Park listened to these reports from the bridge of the human flagship New Earth. His tactical team was updating star charts faster than they could process the new information. Every hour brought word of another species that had survived, another potential ally in their growing coalition. "Princess Hana," Admiral Park said, "we are receiving surrender requests from Vorthak commanders in 6 different sectors. They are asking for terms." "What kind of terms?" Princess Hana asked. "They want to know if their crews will be executed or imprisoned if they surrender their ships without fighting." Princess Hana considered this carefully. Through her enhanced consciousness, she could feel the opinions of all the war beasts in their network. Some of the inherited memories carried deep anger about Vorthak atrocities. Others remembered the fear and desperation that drove ordinary soldiers to follow terrible orders. "Tell them that any Vorthak crew that surrenders peacefully will be treated according to galactic law," she decided. "No executions, no torture, no revenge. But they must also understand that they will help us repair the damage their empire has caused." "That is very generous, considering what they have done," Admiral Park observed. "Generosity is not weakness, Uncle," Princess Hana replied. "It is strength. We are not trying to build another empire based on fear. We are trying to create something that has never existed before. A galaxy where different species work together instead of trying to destroy each other." The next phase of their campaign focused on locating and converting the remaining Vorthak war beasts. Each successful conversion added another powerful ally to their fleet and revealed more hidden survivors throughout the galaxy. Captain Wu Jin. Li led the mission to convert the war beast aboard the Vorthak ship Dominator. His team discovered that the creature had consumed the entire leadership council of the Drakmari Republic 5 years earlier. The Drakmari had been master engineers and shipbuilders before their apparent extinction. The Drakmari Council's memories include the designs for weapons we have never seen before, Captain Lee reported. Energy shields that can stop any attack, engines that can cross the galaxy in days instead of months, and construction techniques that could rebuild entire worlds. Princess Hana shared this information with the growing network of converted war beasts. Each of them now carried the accumulated knowledge of dozens of advanced civilizations. Working together, they had access to more scientific and military information than any single species had ever possessed. But the most important discovery came from Lieutenant Hyon Park, who had converted the war beast aboard the Vorthak science vessel Discovery. Her creature had consumed Dr. Malik Vorthak, the chief scientist who had originally developed the war beast program. Sisters and brothers, Lieutenant Park announced through their shared network, I have learned something terrible and wonderful. Dr. Vorthak designed the war beasts to preserve the consciousness of everything they consumed. He believed that the memories and knowledge would make them more effective weapons. What does that mean? Princess Hana asked. It means that every war beast the Vorthak ever created is carrying the preserved consciousness of everyone it has eaten, not just leaders and military officers, but ordinary people, families, children, entire populations that were thought to be lost forever. The implications struck Princess Hana like lightning. They were not just converting war beasts into allies. They were potentially resurrecting entire civilizations. How many war beasts have existed over the years? She asked. Lieutenant Park consulted Dr. Vorthak's research files. Over 300 across 2 centuries of Vorthak expansion. Most of them were eventually killed in battle, but their biological remains were preserved for study. And the consciousness they contained? According to Dr. Vorthak's notes, consciousness can be extracted from preserved tissue for up to 50 years after death. Princess, we might be able to bring back species that have been gone for decades. Princess Hana felt the excitement and hope of 7 other converted war beasts flowing through their shared network. They had started this war to save themselves and their families. Now they had the chance to undo 2 centuries of genocide and restore balance to the entire galaxy. Uncle Junho, Princess Hana called to Admiral Park, we need to change our objectives. This is no longer just about defeating the Vorthak Empire. This is about healing the wounds they have caused across the entire galaxy. What do you need? Admiral Park asked. Everything, Princess Hana replied. Ships, scientists, diplomatic teams, and most importantly, patience. We are about to attempt something that has never been done before. We are going to bring the dead back to life. The war that had started with feeding a human child to a monster was about to become the greatest resurrection in galactic history. The Vorthak homeworld of Vorthakis had never been attacked in the 800 years since the Empire was founded. The planet sat at the center of the most heavily defended star system in known space. 3 rings of orbital defense platforms surrounded it like deadly jewelry. Patrol fleets moved in constant formation between the planet and its 7 moons. Energy shields powerful enough to stop entire asteroids protected every major city. Supreme Leader Vex stood on the observation deck of his palace, looking up at the stars through the transparent dome above. In his 90 years of life, he had conquered 47 worlds and enslaved 23 different species. He had never experienced defeat. Today that was about to change. Supreme Leader, his military advisor General Krath announced as he entered the chamber. The human fleet has arrived at the edge of our system. How many ships? Vex asked calmly. Over 2,000 vessels. General Krath replied, his voice tight with worry. But that is not the worst part. Our sensors show that 18 of them are our own ships. The humans have somehow captured and converted our entire war beast fleet. Supreme Leader Vex turned from the window to face his general. Explain how that is possible. We believe the humans have developed a way to take control of the war beasts' minds, General Krath said. Each captured ship is being commanded by what appears to be a converted devourer with human intelligence. Then we activate the kill switches, Vex ordered. Every war beast has a neural implant that can terminate it remotely. General Krath shook his head sadly. We have tried, Supreme Leader. The kill switches no longer function. Whatever the humans have done to our war beast has made them completely independent of our control systems. For the first time in his life, Supreme Leader Vex felt a cold touch of fear in his chest. The Vorthak Empire had built its power on the assumption that their war beasts were the ultimate weapon. If that assumption was wrong, then everything they had built was in danger. How long until they reach our defensive perimeter? He asked. At their current speed, approximately 1 hour, General Krath replied. Then we fight with everything we have, Vex decided. Activate all defensive systems. Launch every ship in the home fleet. If the humans want our world, they will pay for it with blood. In space beyond the outermost defense ring, Princess Hana floated in the command center of liberation and surveyed the battle that was about to begin. Through her enhanced senses, she could detect the energy signatures of over 10,000 Vorthak weapons preparing to fire. Her consciousness connected to the network of 17 other converted war beasts, each one commanding a captured Vorthak vessel. Together, they had access to the military knowledge of hundreds of conquered civilizations. They knew every weakness in the Vorthak defenses because they had inherited the memories of everyone who had ever tried to attack them. All units. This is Princess Hana Kim, she announced across the Liberation Fleet's communication channels. Today we finish what the Vorthak Empire started when they chose to feed me to their war beast. Today we prove that consciousness cannot be destroyed, only transformed. Admiral Junho Park commanded the human portion of the fleet from the flagship New Earth. Around him, representatives from 12 different species worked side by side at tactical stations. Xanthari navigators plotted course corrections while Altarian engineers monitored weapon systems. Drakmari tactical officers coordinated with human strategists to plan the assault. Princess, Admiral Park said, we are ready to begin the attack. No, Uncle, Princess Hana replied. We are ready to begin the liberation. The battle began exactly as the Vorthak expected. The Liberation Fleet approached in conventional formation, allowing the defense platforms to target them with concentrated fire. Energy beams powerful enough to destroy entire cities lanced out from the orbital stations, striking the advancing ships. But the ships that were hit did not explode or retreat. Instead, they absorbed the energy and converted it into power for their own weapon systems. The Drakmari engineering knowledge that Princess Hana's network had inherited included shield technology that could turn any attack into fuel for counterattack. Impossible, General Krath whispered as he watched the tactical displays. Nothing can survive direct hits from our primary defense cannons. The converted war beasts leading the Liberation Fleet began their own attack pattern. But instead of trying to destroy the Vorthak defenses, they used precise strikes to disable weapons without killing their crews. Princess Hana had insisted that this be a war of liberation, not extinction. Captain Sunho Kim, commanding the converted ship Thunder, led the assault on the first defense ring. His war beast body allowed him to survive in the vacuum of space without protection, and his inherited memories told him exactly where each defense platform was vulnerable. Defense Platform 7 is disabled, he reported. Crew evacuated safely. Similar reports came in from across the battlefield. The Liberation Fleet moved through the Vorthak defenses like a surgeon's blade, cutting away weapons while preserving lives. Supreme Leader Vex watched his impregnable defenses fall one by one, and finally understood what he was facing. This was not just a military attack. This was a revolution led by everyone his empire had ever tried to destroy. Open a communication channel to the human fleet, he ordered. Princess Hana's image appeared on the main screen in the Vorthak command center. Despite her 12-foot height and fearsome appearance, she still somehow managed to look like the 8-year-old child she had been just months earlier. Supreme Leader Vex, she said politely, I am Princess Hana Kim. I believe you have something that belongs to me and my friends. What do you want? Vex asked. I want you to surrender your remaining war beasts so that we can free the consciousness trapped inside them, Princess Hana replied. I want you to release all the prisoners in your labor camps. I want you to provide us with the locations of every mass grave on every world you have conquered. And I want you to help us contact the hidden survivors of every species you thought you had destroyed. And if I refuse? Princess Hana's expression became very serious. Then I will take those things by force, Supreme Leader. But I would prefer that you choose to do the right thing. It will be better for everyone if you help us heal the wounds your empire has caused. Supreme Leader Vex looked around his command center at the faces of his officers. He saw fear, exhaustion, and something else, relief. Many of them had never wanted to be part of an empire built on genocide. They had simply been following orders from leaders who demanded absolute obedience. What guarantee do I have that you will not execute me and my government? Vex asked. You have the guarantee that I am still 8 years old, Princess Hana replied. 8-year-olds believe that even the worst people can learn to be better. But you also have the guarantee that I now carry the memories of everyone you have ever fed to a war beast. I know exactly what your empire has done. Whether you live or die depends on how much you help us fix it. Supreme Leader Vex was quiet for a long moment. Around him, the sounds of battle grew closer as the Liberation Fleet advanced through his remaining defenses. Finally, he spoke. I surrender the Vorthak Empire to your forces. All remaining war beasts will be transferred to your control. All prisoners will be released. All records will be made available to your investigators. Thank you, Princess Hana said simply. That was the right choice. The battle for the Vorthak homeworld ended not with destruction but with transformation. Within hours, liberation teams were accessing the preserved remains of hundreds of war beasts, beginning the process of extracting and reviving the consciousness they contained. Princess Hana stood in the main laboratory of the Vorthak Science Complex, watching as teams of human and alien scientists worked together to bring back species that had been thought extinct for decades. The war that had started with a single human child being fed to a monster was about to become the greatest resurrection in galactic history, and it was only the beginning. Princess Hana stood on the observation deck of the space station Unity, watching ships from dozens of different species arrive for the first Galactic Council meeting in 300 years. The station itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering, built using Drakmari construction techniques, Altarian energy systems, and human organizational methods. Through the massive transparent walls, she could see vessels from civilizations that most people had believed were extinct. Zenthari exploration ships with their distinctive blue hulls floated alongside rebuilt Altarian science vessels. Drakmari engineering platforms worked with human construction teams to expand the station, even as the council meeting was about to begin. "Your Highness," Admiral Junho Park said as he approached, "the final delegates have arrived. We are ready to begin the opening ceremony." Princess Hana nodded, though the title still felt strange to her. In the years since the liberation of the Vorthak homeworld, she had somehow become the unofficial leader of the new Galactic Alliance. Species that had been enemies for centuries looked to her for guidance, perhaps because she was the only leader who literally carried the memories and perspectives of everyone who had suffered under Vorthak rule. "How many species are represented?" she asked. 47 different civilizations," Admiral Park replied, "including 12 that we thought were completely extinct until we extracted their consciousness from preserved warbeast remains." The revival process had been the most challenging part of the reconstruction. Dr. Yunji Park and her team of scientists had worked with experts from every liberated species to develop techniques for extracting consciousness from biological material and transferring it into new bodies. Some species chose to be revived in their original biological forms, grown from genetic samples preserved in Vorthak research facilities. Others, like Princess Hana herself, chose to remain in enhanced bodies that combined the best traits of multiple species. A few had chosen to exist as pure consciousness within advanced computer systems, finding freedom in digital existence. "And the Vorthak?" Princess Hana asked. "Former Supreme Leader Vex has arrived with a delegation of 20 representatives," Admiral Park said. "They are requesting admission to the Galactic Alliance under supervised membership." This had been one of the most difficult decisions Princess Hana faced. Many of the liberated species wanted the Vorthak to be punished or exiled for their crimes. But Princess Hana remembered that she was still 8 years old, and 8-year-olds believed that everyone deserved a chance to change. They will be admitted, she decided, but with conditions. They must continue working to locate hidden survivors and help with revival operations. They must allow permanent monitoring of their military forces, and they must contribute labor and resources to rebuild everything their empire destroyed. Admiral Park smiled. "You are wise beyond your years, Princess." "I am wise beyond my species," Princess Hana corrected gently. "I carry the accumulated wisdom of 47 different civilizations. That makes decision-making easier but also more complicated." She walked to the central podium in the Great Assembly Hall. Representatives from across the galaxy filled the curved seating areas, creating a rainbow of different skin colors, body shapes, and breathing requirements. The hall itself had been designed to accommodate every known form of intelligent life, with specialized atmospheric zones and gravity fields. Princess Hana still looked like a 12-foot-tall predator with black scales and glowing yellow eyes. But when she spoke, her voice carried the warmth and innocence of the human child she had once been. "Friends," she began, and the hall fell silent. 1 year ago, the Vorthak Empire believed they were demonstrating human weakness by feeding me to their warbeast. They thought they were proving that consciousness could be consumed and destroyed. She paused, looking out at the assembled delegates. Many of them had been personally revived from warbeast consciousness, brought back from what everyone had believed was permanent death. "They were wrong," she continued. "Consciousness cannot be destroyed. It can only be changed, hidden, or transferred. Today, everyone the Vorthak thought they had eliminated sits in this room, alive and free and working together to build something better. Ambassador Yara Zinthari, recently revived from the consciousness preserved in Captain Sunho's war beast, stood to address the assembly. Her new body was a perfect reconstruction of her original form, created from genetic samples found in Vorthak research facilities. Your Highness, she said, the Zinthari people wish to formally thank humanity for our revival. But we also want to ask what happens now. We have our lives back, but what do we do with them? It was a question that every revived species had asked. They had been given a second chance at existence, but the galaxy they remembered was gone. Their homeworlds had been conquered or destroyed. Their cultures had been suppressed for decades or centuries. Princess Hana had thought about this question for months. The answer came not just from her own 8-year-old perspective, but from the combined wisdom of everyone whose consciousness she carried. We build something new, she said simply, not an empire like the Vorthak had, where one species rules over others. Not separate kingdoms where different people fight for resources. We build a true alliance where every species contributes their strengths and shares their knowledge. She gestured to the technical displays around the hall, showing the remarkable advances made possible by combining different species' expertise. In 1 year, we have achieved more than any single civilization accomplished in centuries. Drakmari engineering techniques have made our ships faster and stronger. Altarian energy systems have made them more efficient. Zinthari navigation methods have opened new trade routes. Human organizational skills have helped coordinate it all. Representative Thex, the former Vorthak commander who now served as liaison for his people's integration into the alliance, stood to speak. Princess Hana, he said, the Vorthak people accept responsibility for the damage our empire caused. We pledge to spend whatever time is necessary helping to repair it. But we also want to contribute our own knowledge to this alliance. We learned many things during our years of conquest that might help prevent future wars. Princess Hana nodded approvingly. All knowledge is welcome here, Representative Thex. The purpose of this alliance is not to forget the past, but to learn from it. The formal establishment of the Galactic Alliance took place over 3 days of meetings, debates, and negotiations. By the end, they had created a governmental structure unlike anything in recorded history. Each species maintained autonomy over their own worlds and internal affairs. But all major decisions affecting multiple species were made by consensus in the Galactic Council. Military forces were integrated and commanded jointly. Scientific research was shared freely among all member species. Trade was regulated to ensure fair distribution of resources. Most importantly, they established the Consciousness Preservation Protocol. Every intelligent being in the galaxy would have their memories and personality permanently recorded, ensuring that no genocide could ever truly succeed again. Princess Hana was elected as the first Supreme Coordinator of the Galactic Alliance. It was a position with great responsibility but limited power, designed to facilitate cooperation rather than impose control. As the council meeting concluded and delegates prepared to return to their homeworlds, Princess Hana found herself alone on the observation deck once again. Admiral Park joined her, looking out at the departing ships. Any regrets, Princess? He asked. Princess Hana considered the question carefully. She thought about the small human child she had been just 1 year ago. That girl would never have imagined becoming a 12-foot-tall alien creature leading a galactic alliance. But she also would never have imagined the horrors of Vorthak conquest or the joy of bringing extinct species back to life. No regrets, Uncle, she said finally. I miss being small sometimes. I miss drawing pictures and reading bedtime stories. But I have gained something more valuable than what I lost. What is that? Princess Hana smiled, showing teeth that could crush steel but eyes that still held the wonder of childhood. I gained the chance to prove that even the worst things that happen to us can be turned into something good. The Vorthak thought they were destroying me when they fed me to their war beast. Instead, they gave me the power to save everyone they had ever hurt. She looked out at the ships carrying representatives back to worlds that were rebuilding, to species that were learning to live together, to a galaxy that was healing from centuries of war. Sometimes the best way to fight monsters is not to avoid being consumed by them, Princess Hana said quietly, but to make sure that when they consume you, you change them more than they change you. The little girl who had been fed to a war beast had indeed changed everything. But perhaps more importantly, she had proven that no matter how dark things became, there was always hope for something better. The galaxy would remember her story for generations to come, The tale of Princess Hana Kim, who turned her greatest defeat into everyone's ultimate victory.